talk about is the orientation with IntelliJ's JavaFX. You can build JavaFX programs outside of IntelliJ. Furthermore, I'm going to correspond IntelliJ with another program, Scene Builder. Oh, it's not the Oracle. It's actually tied to Oracle, but other companies build Scene Builder. Okay, first, what is JavaFX? It allows you to build graphical user interfaces as opposed to the text-based ones that you've seen. So text-based use things like system out, scanner class. Like GUI-based ones, it's where we can have basically a ribbon as menus, or we can have buttons. These essentially act like buttons. Select this one, it'll draw this shape. Select this one, it draws this shape. That's a GUI. So it allows you to build a GUI graphical user interface. JavaFX, JavaFX was developed by a company other than Oracle at first. In case you're wondering why it's actually not part of the main Oracle Java website. It's a third-party one. They bought it and then they incorporated it into Java. Overview, if you want a little bit of information about it from Oracle, they own it now. This part, again, a reminder, you don't need to download JavaFX, and you should not do it if you're actually writing your programs in IntelliJ. If you do, you will see some help even from IntelliJ where it says download it. If you follow that path, you're going to get all screwed up. Okay, I probably actually won't have time to do this yet. There's other graphical libraries. One is Swing. Swing came before JavaFX, and it doesn't mean that it's old and obsolete per se. Java was available in early 1990s or so, approximately late 80s. JavaFX only maybe a decade or so. Swing was available well before you were born. So there's many programs that were written in Swing. In terms of jobs and its usefulness, you can look at the comparison in terms of technical capabilities of one versus the other. There are some strengths of one versus the other. In terms of employability, because Java Swing has been around longer, more programs, if they're Java GUI programs, more have been written in Swing than JavaFX because they were written way back when and people are still maintaining it. If you're getting a job in Java coding and it involves a GUI, more than likely, more will be for Swing than JavaFX if they're existing projects. Now, Swing is described as being in maintenance mode. They're trying to get rid of it at Oracle, but it's not deprecated. Because it's in maintenance mode, that means they're not providing new features. I would now surmise with fair confidence that most of the new that they're writing from the ground up when they're trying to write a whole new program or a GUI for existing programs, they won't use Swing, but they'll be using JavaFX. So new code, you'll almost certainly be using JavaFX. You need to look for this if it's Java. But existing code, if you get a job where you're working on a program that already exists, then there's a good chance it'll be in Swing. So there's still value in learning Swing, which is when we get the buffer time, I will talk about Swing for that reason, even if it's not required. And there was another library. There still exists another library with Java Swing, which we'll talk about as one of the optional ones later. Now, how to get this enabled? I'll show us live. The screenshots will show you how things work. Create a new project here. The basics of it's actually surprisingly, oh, I don't want to go put it in this location, really easy. Let me, first of all, before I do a configuration, put this in a temporary one. I want a bunch of test examples, sure. Here, give it some names. It's Java FX default. Okay, by default too, it would be selecting Java, and what I deselected JavaFX. So the additional configuration that you have to do is just go from Java to JavaFX. The only thing is right now, every one of your starting programs inside of IntelliJ now will include stuff for JavaFX. So it has some additional things that you can delete if you want to. If you want to go back to regular Java programs starting, you can just switch from here to here. Barring that you've done this, or after you've done this, then you get configuration. You don't have to worry about, you can stick with the defaults for now. As usual, it takes a while to build all this stuff. Okay, so it's called JavaFX default, and this part's from my security program. So we get additional things here. I'll talk about this. So we start off with, I don't like the formatting here, so let's make it, oh crap. Okay, so we have a main method in this class. That class has to extend application. All the JavaFX starting ones extend the application, which calls launch. Launch gives us a number of things, which includes a stage and a scene, which we'll talk about. Now you can run this when you're in that default tab, the application. There's two.java, one controller, which we'll talk about, then the application, or in the application, you can run it. This one's enabled. And the first time you run it, takes a moment to, oops, is it, okay, yeah, it's running here. And we get this pop-up window. So it's, in this case, having a starting default program is actually nice and intelligent, because there's a lot of things that are required, imports, for instance, and that's set up where you've got a window and some other things. Even more so than just a public static void that you have to worry about with starting program. There's much more. Just take the starting one, then edit it as needed. Furthermore, it has the ability, it has included here a little bit of simple code so it reacts when you interact. Well, there's only one control button, and then we get a label that appears here. You can shut it down. So the shutdown works as well too. Or does it? Nope, no, you didn't get that. So you have to actually shut it down this way. So that's a starting Java program. In the notes, if you missed it, because when someone's trying, personally for me, when someone's showing a program, I tend not to find it overly useful when in a video form, because I tend to go forwards, backwards, and especially the online videos, actually download things. It's so I don't have to buffer as it's going back and forth. So that's why I have the screen grabs. Whichever works for you. If you like videos for learning how to use a program, videos have their place. So in case you're wondering, why am I making a video here? Is because if I'm explaining concepts, the video are pretty good, but if some person's going click here, click there in a video, personally, I don't find that as useful. Videos are useful for explaining theory, the step in a process if, I don't know, you're learning how to dance or something. Okay, so all you have to do is go down here, as I said, and keep the defaults, and away you go. That's the basics of a Java program, a JavaFX program. So I was actually, when I said the configuration was really easy, and in week 6, we're in the week 10 now, I actually did this and had some a little bit of notes for this. I was actually quite pleased it was so easy for this part. How many of you, quick survey, you have gotten this far here. How many of you have gone a little bit further and actually used Scene Builder in conjunction with JavaFX at this point? Raise your hand at this. I won't have a formal survey. Okay, no one's used Scene Builder yet. That's okay. I'm just not going to hold it against you. I just want to see where people are at. Oh, okay. One person. Good for you, Rebecca. Okay, thanks for the answering the survey. Well, okay, yeah. Good for you. But I'll go through that as well too. Now you get a number of files that ought more files than you normally get. There are two.java files. This is the one where you write regular code. So if I have another class, if I start creating another class and I want to instantiate that class called methods, probably I'll do it here. The controller, get this, is, recall when I run this. Now notice, see, it's not runnable because I don't have a main here. It's doing something where, let's change the text here just for a moment. Shout it out, just so you can see it change. I have to go to the application because it has a main. This now enables the ability to play the program, run it. Pull up and I'll get the scene builder explanation a little bit here. Okay. So let's see if I can see if it locks us up. Can I click over here? Good. So Tam has changed the text, and this is the code that will execute. See? So it corresponds over here. So controller, essentially, that tab includes a class that reacts to what they call events. Event is when I press the button, for instance, it reacts. It has code that does something when people interact with the interface. For instance, if we're in PowerPoint, there's events. If I press this, now it's in text, whatever they call it, text something mode. This is mode to draw a rectangle. We switch over here, we're on home. Now it switches to the slideshow tab. Those are events. And what I suggest that you will need to actually write your own here. And when you write your own, I will talk about in detail. When you're testing, see if it's working. This part, this is the code writing part. Now get to what the heck this is. You can see intuitively, it has a label up here and the text in the label has this. But it's easy to go wrong when you have something like this. So what you might, just for testing purposes, you might go back to that tried and true debugging, setting up the breadcrumbs and debugging messages. Now, you shouldn't do this in an actual production program because it's supposed to be graphic, and now it's displaying it in the console text base. Whoops, stop this. So just to make sure that you've set this up so the code that's supposed to execute when a particular control is interacted with, in this case is just one button, then I'd suggest keep it simple and have something like a system out message. And see, yeah, there you go. Because it's very easy to go wrong when you try and do something like this. It could be the imports that you're missing. It could be the message here calling the wrong attribute. If this is working for you, I'll talk about another one where you have an alert, a pop-up that appears. Then by all means, you can skip this part. But I'd suggest this is a starting default. We haven't talked about the scene builder as of yet. That comes into play in a bit. Now, these files, the controller contains the code. The application is your program, and you do need to do some coding. So at Oracle, where they said there's no coding required, that's just a bogus statement. There's far less coding, especially in the controller. I'll show you the contrast after we complete the required stuff, where how do you do the code up the equivalent of a controller? They call it the event listener, using the other library, Swing and AWT. Well, that's actually a bit more complicated. And as a student, you might think, oh, complicated is bad. But when you're first learning stuff, if it's a fairly small program, the complicated part means that you have to do some of the grunt work yourself. But because you have to do the work yourself, then you're more likely to understand it. So if the instructor has a program that is relatively small and simple, the complex part shouldn't be too bad. If it's a full-blown something that's like a real-life program, then it's too complicated. But even though Swing, the alternative JavaFX, requires you to do a bit more here, because it's just smaller programs, you'll actually get something out of it to understand what's happening over here. What about the rest of it? I'll talk about it briefly. The POM file I'll do first. The POM file you actually get with your regular Java, your regular IntelliJ programs, I believe. Yeah, you do. Let's go to this, create a new one here. And let's not have the JavaFX. I do. And you just can't see it, but I do know you get a POM file here because exclude folders. Yeah, sure. Because some of you have asked me about this, and I just bring this up. Crap. These two files. You really shouldn't edit. This one's a don't edit. It's configuration. The configuration includes, I previously skipped over that saying you can accept the defaults, but the POM, this one, I can't remember where you can actually see it in the other one. Let's go over to, I shut down. Oh, it replaced it. It opened it in the existing window. Have to reopen it again. It has configuration. So do you select Maven? What version of Java do you have? But you really shouldn't edit that manually because you can break it. Recent projects there, JavaFX demo. But some of you have seen it and have had it go corrupt, actually had problems with your IntelliJ project. It wouldn't compile or run. And it has things like some of it, see, it's referring to versions and other things here. Yeah, JUnit, libraries. You definitely shouldn't be mucking around. Did you have Maven, what version, and so on. This one, don't edit it. That first one, don't edit all. The next one, make clear. If you know what you're talking about, know what you're doing, you can edit it, but it's not recommended. That's the FXML file. And this is now it's going to tie into Scene Builder. Whoops, recommended. But you can actually write your programs doing this. So you can, but you shouldn't. This is where you're specifying layout appearance of the GUI. And this is where, between this and this is where it's actually less work with this newer library, JavaFX, than the older library, Swing. You actually have to do coding in both these parts, which is not impossible, but more work. Look at the FMX file. So you can, some of this stuff we have, there's something called a welcome text here, a label and a button. The label has welcome text. The button is, okay, let's look at the label, welcome text. The button, see if we can, yeah, there it is. It's called welcome text. So this corresponds here. These are actual, with the controls, what code can execute when we interact with it. This specifies the layout of the controls. We have a, where the heck is it? A label here. Oh, sorry, it's a welcome text was a label. There we go, welcome text was a label. And then we have a button, text, and default text says hello. And then we have, and this one doesn't show here, but it shows elsewhere. Now, let's see, where is it? We have some things that suggest that we have layout. Looks like a bit of a buffer between the different margins, top, left, and right. This controller stuff, well, we'll talk about later here. Oh, this is padding the insets. If you know the web, XML is used on the web. I don't know XML for specifying appearance and other things on web pages. I know of it, but I don't know it. But you can also use it in non-web applications. So layout and appearance, we should edit here. How should we edit it? Via Scene Builder, and I get to that in a bit. Now with the POM file, I kind of felt bad. Somebody had come up to me during the semester and said, I cannot use IntelliJ now. And I got an error message. And they said they looked up the error message online. They're trying to troubleshoot it, which is good. And the error apparently indicated that their POM file was damaged. Now they did get a workaround where they, in the student's case, what they did was they had to basically pull the code from the whole project from the repository in Git. But that's not a great approach. Other possibilities to try and just re-import this part, because the rebuilding the whole thing is kind of a pain. Also, worst case scenario, if you just export the classes and then put them in a directory and then import it again, it'll work. Because of configuration, I don't know how this person's configuration file got mucked up. Was this person or people editing it? It doesn't appear to be a case. The good news is that IntelliJ is so flaky that it's corrupting it. That's my feel, because I didn't look up greater details, didn't have time. But when I pulled this morning's class, I asked about it, show of hands. No one seemed to have problems, so it's not like it's a widespread thing. Show of hands here. How many have had trouble with, if you've had it, you raise your hand again, with IntelliJ, something with the project not working, that's the gist of it, and you've troubleshooted where it's the POM file, .pom file. Anyone encounter that? Yeah, raise your hand. to see if it's, I want to see if it's, I haven't myself. That's why I'm asking. Okay. So don't, maybe that one student was unlucky if IntelliJ corrupting it, or he said it happened a few times that maybe he edited it, not sure. But the worst case scenario is you can always back it up to speed up that process and take all this stuff. I haven't tried it to see if it works. Copy it off. And then if this gets corrupted, you've saved it in some text file, then you can re-import it. So that's another possibility. This could really bugger up the project. I'm not sure how it reacts if you do that, but that's a possibility. Then the bottom line is if you have the classes, you can always just rebuild the project, which is great, but it's not like it's a widespread problem, fortunately. Scene builder. I said with JavaFX, when I talked about Swing briefly, that rather than if you have a window like this, pretend it's a window, and we have controls on top of it, say that's a funny looking button, a round button. With Swing, the default Swing, not a graphical builder, if you want to actually have this located, you have the coordinates on this plane. So you have X, Y, X going this way, Y going this way, if I recall. That's 0, 0. And if this is 400 by 400, and it's based on this corner, 400, 400 would put this one right here. Then you have to do this mapping if you've got many, many controls. It's not impossible, but it's not great, where you have to essentially configure the attributes of an object so you can visualize this. Its properties, its XY coordinates with respect to this being 0, 0, and then recompile, rerun it, and check the layout. With Scene Builder, it's not quite so good where you have full form flexibility, you can move things wherever you want, but you have some flexibility to move things around a little bit. It has a grid, I believe, like a table by default, and then you're putting it within, it's like a 2D grid, 2D array, and you can put it in cell elements, drag and drop. It plays a role in this course, and potentially for professional builders, where for the layout and the visual properties, say for what color this is, what size is it going to be, what text will be displayed, those things you can set through, this is an object, you can set through mutator methods, but it's easier to do it in Scene Builder. To get Scene Builder set up, you have to install Scene Builder. And let's see, I have this here. Get this away. A little bit of information. And Hudson has a link to it in D2L. I would recommend the Scene Builder when I looked at this help link is after you've installed it. That link, unfortunately, I went to it a week ago and I was able to get an exe, an executable, actually it's an MSI that installed. Right now, as a default with Hudson's link, and even if you click through the downloads, all you get is the source code, which may or may not easily work. It's easier to get something that will install it for you rather than having the source where you have the .java files available. So hunt around for it. Myself, to tell you the truth, it took so bloody long to find it. Fortunately, I had the foresight to download it, and I haven't made this publicly available because it's not my code, and I really shouldn't make available. But it was easier to do, so I actually put it in a hidden folder detail. Then I download from here so I could configure my laptop. Now, after you downloaded it, let's see. So it says download D2L, install step 3. Installation location. Normally, I can't say for Mac, but the default when you install stuff, I don't tend to pay attention to it unless there's some reason. Most of the time, it'll go into program files or program files x86, and it'll be along in here. This one's a little bit, its default's a little bit on the screwy side, and I can't directly access it because I did it with a different user account. These are my Windows account, James Tam, that has admin access. It was under here, but I'm not an administrator. I don't actually want to pull up the fiddle around admin. It was in here, but I haven't had problems where I set it wherever I want. So one of two things, when you install it, make sure you note the install location because it is a screwy one, or else change the default and maybe you can put it in, say, a top level drive and then see Scene Builder, for instance. Hudson, in his video, he puts on desktop. I wouldn't recommend that because then you add, I don't know about you, I have too much crap on there, clutter. That's important. I normally don't note it. And Hudson went through, okay, here's the install. Then about 5 minutes later, a few minutes later, then he says, oh, by the way, you better note that. So, crud. That's why it wasn't a disaster. You can either find Scene Builder, or if all else fails, you cannot find it by typing in text search, doing something like, say, C drive, Scene Builder. And this actually might take more trouble. It's worth Builder to find it. So it's doing a text search. The worst case scenario is uninstall it, reinstall it again, then pay attention where you installed it. But you need it because, okay, you can set up preferences and all this. I can't directly show it because I've already set this up on my machine. I needed to be able to get the notes. But once you set it up through this, then when you have a project that you have created in IntelliJ, there's two possibilities that you can do this. You can either do the configuration through Scene Builder, so that Scene Builder communicates with your program here, the set layout, because this program that I'm running, whoops, application, I want to configure its, wow, this is awfully slow, layout through Scene Builder. So it actually has to be able to edit the configuration files. I can either do that connection via IntelliJ or through Scene Builder. I can show you the, where the hell is it now again? Sometimes you lose it. Oh, there, you have to click here to be able to see it. You have to get that tree view. And let's see if I show this here. I show the opposite approach over here. What you're looking at is you have to, yes, you can see your fxml here. Let's see if I can, oh, see, I've configured it so it already says open in Scene Builder. So it's going to add this file in Scene Builder. But you can use this open in. Oh, hey, you don't have to go through the tree. I just found a nice shortcut. If you go through the tree, it's a real pain. You have to figure out source, resources, and then click here. And then, see, there's the open in Scene Builder because I already configured it. You have to figure out which in the tree to find it. But hey, this is actually a nice shortcut. You could do it over here. And now what you want to do is say, what default program do we want to associate it to it? A little bit of computer literacy, if you're not aware of it, is in Windows at least, we look at the file. Mac doesn't do this apparently. The file name suffix, it's .pptx. Normally it hides it, and it pulls up PowerPoint. If you have, this should be a clear one. It's PowerPoint for most people. But if you have something like a JPEG, there's different image viewers. You can change it in Windows if you don't like the default. Where is it? Open. I think you have to right click and open with. So I right click and you can't see what I'm doing with my fingers. I press shift at the same time. And then from here, I'm doing the equivalent of, now I can say, use a different program if I want to. That's what we're going to do in IntelliJ here. We don't, okay, pretend I haven't set this up, so this isn't appearing. Open in. Now I'm going to try and associate with Scene Builder. And it doesn't show its default. Then this is where I need the install location of Scene Builder, because then I'm going to dig through the file system to find the dang thing. And either note it, put it into a file, then you could copy paste that path here. Or if you totally lost where that path is, uninstall Scene Builder, reinstall it, put it in easy to find location, and just to be extra safe, copy paste it, and then put it over here. Once you've done that configuration here in IntelliJ, then if you click again, open in Scene Builder, you should have that option. Select the path. Oh, now we still have to click here. And so it's under, we find that oh, I do put this path here in the next slide. So this is the name of the project here. And then you have to look under source, and it's a resource file. And you're looking for that hello FMX. Oh, crud. Sometimes you get this issue here, so you have to restart it a bit. It does work because I went through the other end. Sometimes you have to do a reboot. I'll show the other end of it. Maybe because I moved the bloody file too, because I was trying to put it in a good location matched by that will match the web server. Now, by the way, why did I open up repetition notes? That's bizarre. Yeah, so actually I show that path over here. This is the name of my project, and then you go through these folders to be able to find the FMX file. So it's click on under this final folder. IntelliJ creates all this stuff. This, I pick the project name, look for the FMX file. Sometimes you get that odd error message where it says it can't find it. I think I moved it, so I have to rebuild that project. Or if Scene Builder, I can do the reverse. Scene Builder. I probably should do a search here. Don't tell me it's gonna give me some crud because crud might be giving me some bit of crud here because I installed it with a different user account. That's it. I can't show it, unfortunately. That's probably the issue. Recall that I said that it installed. Yeah, it's a Windows sort of thing. I should have changed the default location under users. So this is profile specific, you see. And right now I'm logged in as, I can't quite show this part, unfortunately. You have to reinstall it with my admin account to be able to show this. Sign out, I'm as work. And I installed it in James Tam. Work is not admin. James Tam is admin, so I don't have permissions. So I can't actually, I installed Scene Builder here, but it's only available for James Tam. That's why it had that issue over here. With Scene Builder, what you have to do is when you start up Scene Builder, see if I can show these is, oh, what is this? When I start Scene Builder, it's kind of like this where I open up Word, and then you'll have to open up the location, the FMX, the XML file, which I can't quite show here. For some reason, it installs my profile, not for everybody by default. Just notice that because it's under app data. If you don't have multiple user accounts, it's probably not such a big deal. But what's going to happen is when I actually, so I can't show these, but I have at least some screenshots. I can't show it per day at least because I'll have to do the uninstall. What I have over here in that FMX file, XML file, I'll edit over here. By default, I can show a bit of it. Is, damn, get out of the way, Zoom. I don't think I need this anymore. This is the default Hello World program. And it just had that hello button. I don't think I changed it. Stop it. Yeah. Oh, shoot. I just resized it over here. But if I'm in Scene Build over here, I can see it. It's not running. There you can see the text. If I change that text here, it changes this text here. But I can do more where I can change properties, the font. And this is the difference between this and the Swing, at least default Swing. They say it's less coding-like, because essentially it's like a program, but this is actually an object. I'm not calling mutators, but I'm going through a visual interface, and that visual interface calls the mutators, and it changes properties. I can change the size within Scene Builder. I can't show it now today. I can change the color, I can change the type of text, change the background text. So it makes it quite a bit easier because right now I'm not in edit mode, I'm in the run program mode. If I want that button elsewhere, I could pick it up within this. This is a window and move it here, for instance, within that grid. That's where Scene Builder ties into your program building, and it makes it life a bit easier. So Hudson was correct, and he said with IntelliJ, he said in the prof meeting, in the very beginning semester, if students are using IntelliJ, then it will make their last assignment, I stuck this in memory, easier. And I concur with him. I'm not just saying it because he said it. If you didn't use IntelliJ up to here, well, assuming he didn't force you because you had to upload a repository, it's a toss-up whether you really need it. There's some nice things in here, but it's not mandatory. For last assignment, last part of project, it really helps. So you can, the two will be connected, and they're connected because Scene Builder is editing this file, the fxml file. And when you save it in Scene Builder, the changes will be reflected if it's connected properly over here, but more importantly, when you run the program. So I changed the text button hello, then the button, see it says button : hello rather than just a hello, changed over here, but we can change more than just this. So there's no need to do coding. You'll have different ones. The properties is for the visual properties. And then there's a button over here, an option over here where you can select code. That I can't show through running today, unfortunately. So what to edit in different parts, because this may seem a bit confusing. Recap here. Edit code through the code editor, the IDE, IntelliJ. The hello application, with this little hello world one, it's kind of like what you've seen where we've got a class in main. You'll be editing in here. Branches, and you likely have other classes along here. Instantiated, probably will be instantiating here, calling those methods, because this is the application. Although you could call it something else as a default name. What else? Changes how JavaFX code reacts. I've shown that by editing the controller. So it's not only inside of IntelliJ, where the code, when you press that button, in this case, what does it do? But it's through the controller tab. Yeah. So those are the parts in edit through IntelliJ. What to edit through Scene Builder? So we're affecting the location and other things, visual properties. The label that I have in this example. This label, if I wanted to change it and show some text, it's a smart aleck one, say, don't press that button. I should edit through Scene Builder. And we can see the changes reflected. I changed the name in the Scene Builder from Tam label. What is it? No, I didn't change a Tam label here. Oh, what I'm getting at over here, if I'm editing it manually in IntelliJ, I had to think to remind myself, and say I want to edit it in the controller, I noticed that I have something called, what is it, welcome text. I think that's what it's called. Inside the controller. Yeah, welcome text. I did like it. I wanted to change it to Tam text, Tam label. This is where a perfect example where it can be problematic. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're editing inside here, Tam label, and you think things are hunky-dory. Problem is, I do enough to be able to catch this. It's also referred to here because these labels and this button has a layout within that window. So you also have to change it within here because it's going to be referred to as welcome text, and you have a conflict between, oops, it's WTAM label, between Tam label and welcome text. So it's not recommended that you really do the edits in here of the controls. So where you can do the edits over here is inside of Scene Builder, screenshot of what it looks like, the properties, you can see the visual, some of the visual properties where we can change it. With that in mind, just because you can change the visual properties easily and you have a lot of control does not mean you should. Don't go crazy here and start using a whole bunch of crazy fonts, whole bunch of too many fonts and strange colors. Stick to the basics in the project that you hand in, as well as your assignments. When you're editing over here in Scene Builder, save it, and what you're saving is to this file. So the changes that are reflected here, you should be able to see them here. Called it, when in my edits, change it to Tam label, and then it was Tam label over here. So recap again. The application, as usual, edit IntelliJ. The controller, edit IntelliJ. The part where you're changing layout and the part where you're changing layout is going to affect this file, the fxml file. That should be done via Scene Builder. And there's sources for adding that capability. There's my short one, and there's a longer one with Professor Hudson's. So one of you have gotten that connection between the scene builder and IntelliJ. Your to-do, because, hang on a sec here. This is off the record.